But we do start with the most thrilling title race in the Premier League for a long, long while. It continues tomorrow with a full round of midweek fixtures. Arsenal, who are second, face Luton at the Emirates. Mikel Arteta has been speaking to our reporter James Green this morning, who joins us from their training ground. Now, James, very good afternoon. Felt like a significant point at City for Arsenal on Sunday. But how do Arsenal finish the job now and go on and lift that trophy come May?
Good afternoon, Rob. I think both sides will look at that, reflect and go, yeah, it was probably a significant point for both sides. I don't think either could afford to lose it. That's how tight the title race is right now for Arsenal. They had to work really hard. Now, we've just seen a lot of the players arriving for training. We're actually going to be with you during open training this afternoon. I've just spoken to Martin Ødegaard and I said, how are you feeling after Sunday? And he said, I'm a little tired, but I'm feeling fine. And I'm not surprised. You know, Arsenal had less than 30% possession. They're not used to chasing the ball around, chasing the opposition. They're used to controlling and dominating games, but they had to play a different way. And Mikel Arteta spoke about what he said to the players before the game, and he said, if you're not willing to chase 30 passes, win the ball, potentially lose it back and then chase another 30 passes, then you're not ready to play against Manchester City. But he'll be proud of how his team approached that game. It was a slightly different performance, not easy on the eyes for everybody, but tactically from both sides, they were nullifying each other. And for Arsenal, they've reduced Manchester City to just 2 shots on target throughout. They've struggled against Manchester City in the past. Before this season, they'd lost 14 of their last 15 games against Manchester City. So to take 4 points from them this season is quite an achievement. And Mikel Arteta was proud of his team. He was pleased with the way they found a different approach and a different method of playing, and believes they're going to have to go some, though, and maybe not lose or drop any more points between now and the end of the season if they are to be crowned champions for just a second time since 2004.
Sometimes because you want to adapt, sometimes because you have to adapt, and you have to have that resilient and leave your ego aside and your ideology aside and do what you have to do to win the game. And I thought the team was mentally really strong and really clever the way they did it.
Realistically, think Arsenal have to win every single game to win the title?
I don't know, but it's going to have to be really close to that when you see the level and the consistency of the other teams, and historically what is needed to win in this league is not going to be very far from that.
I mean, are you in phase 4 now?
Let me go back to the computer. We're not far, I think. Getting close to that.
So you are still in phase 3?
But then you're going to start to phase 1 again. So once you get to certain points, you go to phase 1 again, and you want to build it because you have to be better and you have to continue to evolve.
James, I know you like your NBA basketball. There's a famous old coach who says offence wins games, defence wins championships, and Arsenal have that, don't they, in William, Saliba and Gabriel?
I do. That is very true. I love my basketball. I love that terminology as well. And Mikel Arteta likes his multiple sports as well. I've spoken to him before the season, actually. We actually spoke about getting inspiration from other coaches, not just in football, but in other sports. And he does do that. He likes to chat to people from NFL, from the NBA, and get those little nuggets of information from them. But look, a lot's been talked about offensively. Are Arsenal lacking a striker? Then since the turn of the years, they all of a sudden found their scoring boots. But one thing they've been able to do is hold teams to very few and little opportunities throughout. There's so many stats out there saying that Arsenal are well on top. They've conceded the fewest goals in the Premier League. They've held teams to the fewest touches in the penalty area or the opposition third during games as well. Defensively, they've got a really strong and structured unit. And you look at that partnership at the back between William Saliba and Gabriel, and they just seem to be clicking at the right time together. We saw that start to come to fruition last season, and it was a big blow for Arsenal when William Saliba was ruled out injured for the last few months of the season, for around March, April, May. But we're now into crunch time. We're into April, just 9 games left in the Premier League. They're in the Champions League, and those two are creating a formidable lineup at the back, with Declan Rice protecting them in front. But yeah, defensively, defensively, they're in a really good position. And Mikel Arteta actually was asked in his press conference about the defensive partnership between the two when he realised that this was going to be a partnership that could thrive. And he basically said that actually it was down to the fact I sent William Saliba on loan to Marseille.
Praise for William Saliba after the game on Sunday, Gabriel as well. When did you first see them as a duo that can work on the long term for Arsenal?
When I decided with Edu and the club to send Willie to Marseille. On that moment.
Could you see
No, I'm just joking. You just feel it when you see the partnership, and sometimes there is that chemistry between two players that they complement each other. They are so happy to work with each other, to work for each other, and it just flows, and that happens. And I think they really enjoy playing together, and again, they've been really, really, really good.
James, as you mentioned, we will be seeing you during Arsenal's open training session a little bit later on. Will we be seeing Bukayo Saka, though?
Yeah, I think we will, Rob. He's arrived at the training ground already. We've seen him come in, big smile on his face, as seems to always be the case with Bukayo Saka. Look, I expect him to be training, actually. Speaking to Mikel Arteta in his press conference, he said, look, he hasn't had much training. He pulled out the England squad with a muscle injury. He had to come off in the game against Manchester City around about 75 minutes, and he looks really fatigued. Up until just before that point in the game, he lost the ball maybe 3 or 4 times in very unfamiliar and un-Bukayo Saka-like, and he was taken off. He was hobbling as he was coming off the field, but we have seen Bukayo Saka hobble off the pitch many, many times, but he seems to just always be so robust and back out there playing. So as much as with these games coming up, 8 games in April, as I mentioned, they're going to have to manage the squad. This is something that Mikel Arteta was referring to in his press conference, keeping all the squad happy and ready and hungry to go in case they're needed. For Bukayo Saka, knowing that Arsenal have got a trip to Brighton on the weekend, they then welcome Bayern Munich to the Emirates Stadium for their quarter-final of the Champions League next week. Maybe Wednesday, tomorrow night against Luton at the Emirates Stadium could be a game to give him a rest. But every time we thought that in the past, Bukayo Saka's been in the starting lineup, so I wouldn't hazard a guess that he won't be there again come tomorrow night.
Yeah, I suspect we might well see him. James, thank you very much indeed.